Okay, so here I am, as I threatened I would be yesterday, with the third part of my Jameela Jamil breakdown. There's just so much to talk about with Jameela Jamil and Meghan Markle that even in two videos that are nearly 20 minutes long each, I still haven't really got into the absolutely insane, off-the-chart narcissistic conversation that the two of them had. Now, some of you in the comments have suggested that I'm becoming obsessed, that I'm losing my mind, that this drawn-out breakdown of Jameela Jamil is in fact my own breakdown, that I'm tilting at windmills. I understand the reference. I'm not Don Quixote, you're Don Quixote. Anyway, just to recap very, very briefly, we have British actress and activist Jameela Jamil in conversation with professional socialite Meghan Markle, and they're both talking about how saintly they both are. And it's important to bear in mind that Jameela Jamil is accused of having Munchausen syndrome, basically feigning illness for attention, allegedly, and has been accused of bullying TV presenter Caroline Flack to suicide, allegedly. And in fact, I don't actually agree with that, on a serious note. Oh, and don't forget, Caroline Flack is Prince Harry's ex-girlfriend. This is amazing. Oh, and one more thing, the Munchausen syndrome with Jameela Jamil. She claims to have had separate incidents in her life where she's run into oncoming traffic because she was being chased by swarms of bees. So that's kind of a running joke throughout the video. If I don't say that now, you might not appreciate the humour. You'll just think it's like, what, slapstick, rubbish, bees, people getting attacked by bees, what's that? I expected better from Daniel. You're right, my humour is very layered and nuanced. You're right to expect higher brow content on this channel.
There are still a lot of areas in which I care. So much going on in the world. Everything that's happening in Iran, everything that's happening to trans women, everything that's happening to reproductive rights.
Oh yeah, she is one of those people. This is what her Twitter bio looks like. I can't stand people who just want to make all the right noises all the time. It really does bother me. And by the way, why do they call them reproductive rights? I know it's just like rebranding, like the anti-abortion people call themselves pro-life. But reproductive rights, that sounds like they're fighting for the right to reproduce, when they're really fighting for the right to discontinue. Because abortion is murder. I'm only joking. Or am I? You can never be too sure with me, can you? I sometimes think I might need to tone down the sarcasm.
But there are certain areas where if I've experienced something personally and I can back that up with those credentials, that's the place I'm going to fight the hardest because I know I can be the most effective. So places like reproductive rights, places like eating disorder culture, places like mental health, places like
apiculture.
Feminism. I can hold my own in those spaces, and I defer. I'm very deferential now to other experts out there.
Other experts, not just me, because I'm an expert in all those things that I've just mentioned, but I sometimes defer to other experts who help me redact my papers. I honestly think that women should have a big problem with archetypes in that, it just paints women in a bad light because all of the guests that she has on are sort of these vacuous activist types. Get some intellectual heavyweights on. Get Camille Paglia on. She not woke enough for you? A transgender feminist? Wonder how much of your crap she'd agree with.
What does your partner think of all of this?
Partner. I know partner shouldn't sound as bad as it, but people deliberately use the word partner now to, so that the language isn't gendered or whatever.
I walk into a coffee shop. I walk in and I ask the barista for an oat milk cappuccino, which is my favorite beverage. And my wife, I ask if she can have a cafe au lait with oat milk. And I say it just like that. I'll have a oat milk cappuccino, please. And my wife would like a cafe au lait. And my wife is really shy. She oftentimes like, hey, will you order for me? So I wasn't man answering for her. And the lady corrected me calling her my wife and said, you mean partner? No, this is my wife. This is my wife. Oh. And she would like a cafe au lait, please. Just bonkers.
Imagine how crazy you have to be to talk to a grown man and tell him to not call your wife, that there is a correct way to announce her.
I think secretly they know they're getting under my skin. I mean, not specifically me. Maybe specifically me, but people like me.
I mean, he just likes that I am completely myself. And I think he
Well, of course. Why wouldn't he?
really enjoys the fact that I'm not repressed in any way, you know, and therefore I don't have anywhere that I need to kind of like let off that steam. I don't hold in any toxicity. I get everything off my chest.
Yeah, she lets that toxicity out. She's spreading that around for everyone.
To, you know, mixed results. He's incredibly supportive of me, and he's been a big encourager of me to learn how to, you know, fight back and speak my mind and understand my worth. And
Yes, and if any of you are wondering how to calculate your worth, we actually learned in yesterday's video that it's not just a number, like how much you weigh. That's the wrong way to calculate your worth. Because I know all of you silly little women, you probably just, you know, get on the scales and think, oh, that's how much I'm worth. But no, according to Jameela Jamil, your worth can be weighed, not on a scale, but you can weigh it figuratively in victories and orgasms.
he's just a great ally.
Oh, he's a male ally. Simp alert! Simp alert! Oh!
He's just a great source of strength and comfort, and someone who can take my phone away because he's 6'7". I can't reach it when he's holding it up, you know.
Ooh, now that doesn't sound like a male ally. Taking your girlfriend's phone away. Maybe he's not such a simp after all. Maybe he's based!
He understands me, and he's just an incredible human, an incredible friend. And I don't think I could have withstood all of this without him. And I know you have a very similar dynamic with Harry. And
Oh, no way has Harry ever taken Meghan's phone off her. I don't think so.
actually, when the four of us met that one time,
Yeah.
Yes, of course, when you sealed your great friendship, when it was carved in stone.
it was a really sweet dynamic of two very like sort of similar relationships. And it was very nice for me to see that you have that in your home.
It was very nice for me to see that you have that in your home.
Yes.
Because you need it, because it's an unfathomable amount of that you take, Meghan. I can't believe it.
An unfathomable amount of shit that she takes. There's an unfathomable amount of shit that she puts out.
And I fought back on your behalf years before I'd ever met you, because I was so
Stupid, gullible, a virtue signalling holier than thou neo-Puritan.
outraged by it. I was so outraged with the twisting of this very normal, very kind, very civilized woman. That demonization just shows how afraid they are of you.
Oh, we're afraid. We're quaking in our boots. We're almost as afraid of Meghan Markle as you are of... Not the beast! Ah!
I'm sure maybe you can't keep this in or whatever, but the treatment of you, and I'm so sorry you've had to withstand it. It has re-highlighted for us the like intense unkindness and bigotry and misogyny of our media.
You know, what's the point?
And I think and I hope and I feel faith that tides are changing because so many of us are fighting back.
Well, thank you for fighting back.
It never ceases to amaze me. And I mean that. It never ceases. It doesn't stop. It never ceases to amaze me. That people who are spouting the same shit, the same tired, worn-out tropes that all of the major corporations and all of the world governments support, right? The people are just spouting this stuff out to make themselves feel better about themselves. They're not reading up about anything. They're not looking at contrasting views. They're just like, feminism, Ukraine flag in the bio, black square on Instagram. They think that that is fighting back. Are you a moron? Like, I don't consider that I'm fighting against anything, right? And I'm saying the complete opposite of the mainstream message that we're all supposed to go along with, right? And I don't feel like a dangerous renegade, a maverick, right? I just feel like, you know, I'm just sort of saying what I think. You're not fighting back, you cretins. God.
When all of that criticism can feel really attacking or really uncomfortable or scary, is there ever that moment where you go, no, I just can't put myself in this position anymore. It's not good for me, even if it's good for the greater good.
Jameela, even Jesus Christ, our Lord and Saviour, needed Simon of Cyrene to help him bear his cross. I see you there, forsaking your life so that we may live in a better world. But please, Jameela, let us help lighten the load.
Yeah, I think I've been through quite a lot of smear campaigns.
Sure, Jan.
In the past, and when it got too much one time where it became like really gratuitous and I saw how much the public were enjoying joining in on it, I felt so exhausted and kind of like everything just felt very hopeless and pointless, and I just saw such an ugly side of society that it made me kind of want to tap out.
I'm sure it must be horrible to be at the centre of an online smear campaign, and smear campaign as she calls it, and I think that's possibly valid. What Piers Morgan did, putting those screenshots of the messages he had with Caroline Flack on Twitter, caused people without much evidence to accuse her of something pretty awful, which was bullying someone who later committed suicide. And obviously the nuance and the details are lost on everyone, and Piers Morgan knows that better than anyone. It was pretty horrendous, I imagine, what she must have gone through after that. Of course, he could be privy to greater information, more information than we are, in which case, perhaps he thinks she absolutely deserved what happened to her. But if the only information we have to go on is that message between Piers Morgan and Caroline Flack, that fragment of a message, then what he did to Jameela Jamil, I think, is uncalled for. But having said all that, I think you have to understand as a person in the public eye that, people in glass houses don't throw stones. And I know that that's meaningless unless I explain it. You can't go around all the time with this air of superiority, this holier-than-thou attitude, lecturing the world on what a good person you are and how they can be a better person, and criticising, fellow artists and celebrities, and then not expect them to turn around and hit you with something worse, to retaliate. So I have a degree of sympathy, but I think it's naive to believe that she is not responsible for some of the things that happened to her. And I think she needs to own that a little bit. I do agree that what happened was probably pretty awful for her to go through, but I think she has to accept some of the responsibility. And this is a big problem with people in general. They don't take responsibility for their actions. And even when something bad happens to you, you have to own it a little bit, especially something like this.
And so I felt very, very, very suicidal a few years ago because of it, because it's a lot to take on. It's a lot of voices, and I'm okay with being criticized for what I've done wrong, but I'm absolutely not okay with being lied about and having all of my words twisted, and doing interviews for publications and broadsheets and having those take my words completely out of context and sometimes reconstruct new sentences out of my full paragraphs. And that just felt so, oh God, it just felt so unwinnable. It felt so unsurvivable at times. And I kind of had this epiphany that I've spoken to you about before, which is that, oh God, this is exactly what they want.
I'm sure if Jameela listened to my response to what she just said, what I'm going to say right now, she'd just dismiss me as, you're like all the rest of them. But it does come across as narcissistic if you think that your detractors have some kind of vested interest in you committing suicide. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are evil people out there and, that just want to watch the world burn, the trolls on Twitter and stuff, but it comes across as though Jameela doesn't really have any introspection. She's not reflecting on her own behaviour. And I think that's a problem because she's destined to repeat the same mistakes. if she can't see that she's in some way responsible for the things that have happened to her.
The reason they go after powerful women who, live very public lives is because they're trying to make an example out of us, right? They're just using us to send out a flare and a warning to other women who might get the wrong idea that they too should use their voice and speak up and fight back and say no. They want to make an example out of us, because if they can destroy us or aid us in destroying ourselves, then they can successfully stop anyone else from getting too encouraged. And so when that hit me and I realized how much they would win if I took my own life, or if I backed down, or if I backed off, that kind of created this surge of new energy where I was like, no, I literally now have to keep going. Now I have a duty to fight back and to expose this lineage of how we destroy powerful and opinionated women.
That's a bit mad. She didn't kill herself because she thought, no, I want women to be able to have an opinion. And if I kill myself, they'll have won, because they want women to stop having an opinion. Just like Meghan didn't kill herself because it would have been harsh on Harry if she'd have killed herself with her unborn child. Yeah. I don't know. I think they might just be a bit mad. What are you going to do? I think I'm going to leave it there for today. Like, share and subscribe, please, and leave a comment. All helps with the algorithm. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next one.